People who have stayed with someone they no longer love. What is your story? Short version: domestic violence. Long version: I was afraid to leave because I believed he would find me and kill me. Conclusion: he pushed me too far and I ran. Glad you made it. I was with my high school sweetheart for 8.5 years. Everyone thought we were going to get married and be together for the rest of our lives. I moved out of the city to go to uni and we eventually grew apart, but we stayed together nevertheless. Mostly because we were each other's comfort zone and were afraid to be alone. I had fallen out of love for him after the 3 or 4 year mark, but stayed anyway because he said he needed me. He often told me, "Don't leave me please. You're not gonna leave me, right?" It was emotional torture and I tried helping him when I started seeing cuts on his arms, but he refused to accept comfort and help. Eventually I found the courage to break up with him. Mutual friends told me that it was such a waste to give up on 8.5 years, which added more guilt. Honestly, I just wish I had broken up with him much earlier. Maybe as early as back in high school, when I found out that not only was his girl best friend madly in love with him, but also he and his ex were constantly messaging. Edit. Thanks everyone for all the upvotes, comments, and award my very first. And thanks for enlightening me about the sunk cost fallacy. Never even heard of it before. And to anyone who is reading this and you see yourself living out a similar experience, do not delay it anymore. Do what is best for you. I was with my ex for almost 6 years. The last 2 years or so we kind of just existed for each other. We hadn't had sex in over 5 years. We lived together. I knew he was depressed. He still loved me, but I just didn't love him in that way anymore. I was scared to leave because I knew he would try to kill himself. He never told me that. He wrote it down in a journal I found. He played this happy person, but deep down he wasn't. I wasn't either. He is a great guy and I cared a lot for him. I still do. The day I came home from work and was going to finally end things, he already knew. How, I have no idea. He tried to hang himself, but he survived, thankfully. I wish I wouldn't have dragged it out all those years, but we were comfortable. He is now doing great and I am so glad he was able to move on. I wish him the best. I wish the best for both of you. I'm glad he's doing great and hopefully not depressed anymore. Me too. Glad it worked out in the end. She just checked out. I tried to talk, find out what was going on, but she denied anything was up. She started playing WoW and the friends she made online became her whole world. She stopped cleaning up after herself, stopped showering, gained lots of weight, and would sit in the same stained pajamas for days. The stench. I suspected depression and offered help. We have free mental health coverage through my company, so it would be easy to set up. Gave her the details, the people to call, what they offer, etc. She denied being depressed and just got angry that I dared to even suggest that. I realized that the person I was living with was not the one I married, but figured she might eventually come around if I just gave her enough time. 3 years later she was even worse and I confronted her, told her to either sort her shit out, get help, allow me to help, and to hang, but do something or move out. Because I did not like this person very much less love her. She chose to move out. Edit. I have heard that she tells everyone that I kicked her out because I do not love her anymore. Sigh. Felicia Day wrote about her WoW addiction in her autobiography. Basically word for word spiral downward to 3-day-old clothes and her boyfriend dumping her minus weight gain cause she could not be bothered to eat consistently. Thanks. I will check it out. He was mentally ill, possibly with paranoid personality disorder, definitely delusional, maybe schizophrenic. I was accused of all types of things, affairs, being part of plots to get him, even urinating on his toothbrush. I stayed for 3 years after I knew I no longer loved him because I knew he would spiral without someone to look after him. He had destroyed every relationship with his friends and family because they were all also out to get him. I finally told him I would only stay if he got help, which he refused. So I left. I was right about him spiraling. He went from share house to share house as all the other tenants were out to get him. He eventually ended up homeless for a while, is now facing 18 different charges, so will probably end up in jail. I'm genuinely glad that you got out when you did. This response is the best example of dodged a bullet that I think I have ever seen. Thank you. It took a long time and a lot of therapy for me to get over the guilt of leaving, even though I knew it was the right thing for me. My marriage was down to the room at best friends level. It was on one hand very convenient, and on the other I was spineless to change anything. After a dead bedroom, both of us did not want to have any type of intimacy with the other anymore. For 4 years I finally got my act together and decided to either divorce or outsource my sex life. Told that point blank to my wife. To my surprise she was cool, and we agreed on a DADT solution. Staying quite happily with her since then. Can I ask you why you decided to stay together? Because it is convenient. After 20 years of marriage we are still best buddies, confidants, parents, and like each other very much, but just do not feel love anymore. Anyway, we are aware if any of us would fall in love with another person, things may end in a breakup. My first wife became addicted to opioids after a botched surgery that took 2 additional surgeries to correct. Meanwhile the docs are just flinging fentanyl at her like it is candy. The last 2 years were me trying to save her from herself. I did not leave because I was afraid she would die without me, and she had 2 amazing children from a previous marriage that I loved. I was afraid if I left, she would not let me see them again. So one day the sheriff knocked. We were being evicted. She had been stealing the house payments for drugs off the street as I had been controlling her meds, trying to ease her doses down. Unknown to me, she was buying them other places than the pharmacy. I told her inpatient rehab or divorce. She chose divorce, and I was relieved at first. But then all my worries came true. That was the last day I saw her children, and she died of a drug overdose 2 years later. This is so tragic. Are you doing okay? It took years, but yes. Thank you. Despite the username, I remarried, and we have been happy together for 12 years so far. It did break me a bit, in that I decided no kids for me, since even a father can have his kids taken, or they can die, and I already lost 2. So I found a wonderful woman who did not want them either. I still feel like a piece of my life is missing sometimes. I think love is organic. When you first start dating, everything is new and exciting and an adventure. Then you fast forward, and eventually you have seen the absolute worst in the other person: addiction, weight gain, depression, and you have faced difficult things together like parenting, or the death of your own parents. I have been married to my husband for 20 years this year. Do I love him like I did when we first started dating? It is different, but I think that's okay, and kind of normal. There was a time maybe 10 years ago I seriously considered leaving. But the family unit is very important to me, and we have 2 kids. We do not fight. We do not have any real marriage stress now, though there were some tough years thrown in there. As I age, I realize that I appreciate the history we have almost more than that butterflies in the stomach feeling of being in love. I do not have to try to explain my dysfunctional upbringing to him, because he witnessed my family's craziness first than before my mom died. I sometimes think about meeting someone now and trying to explain how I became the person I'm today. At 47, there is so much that went into who I am. I don't know. Am I missing out by not feeling in love with my husband? Or is it enough that I feel comfortable with him? We get along. We respect each other's need to do their own thing. I will never complain about him playing video games for hours on end. And he will never complain about me spending the weekend with my sister a couple hours away. We like to travel together and chill together. That's my take. If something were to happen to him, of course I would feel sad, but I would go on. My life would not be over like I feel it would if something happened to my kids. I was also abandoned by a lot of people in my life, so I'm probably a little broken. I think many marriages are like this. There is a modern expectation that you need to be madly in love with your partner that is destructive and leads to people in stable relationships leaving to chase a rainbow. It is a shame. I think both the madly in love bit and the she is my everything and we do everything together expectations are destructive. I have watched a ton of marriages fall apart because both parties expect that all interests and activities must be shared, and I just do not see that as very realistic. The idea of just one person should fulfill every single role in my life is actually unhealthy. People grow and change, and so do interests. I do not think it is fair to expect your partner to be as excited about gallery strolls to check out local artists as you are, or to expect that they should do that with you every weekend because it is your current passion. Sheesh. Cut it down to a weekend or to a month, and arrange to go with a friend who is also interested, so your partner can get a chance to binge on that detective series they love, and you do not. And when your partner does do a gallery evening with you, for heaven's sake, take the time to make popcorn, bundle up, and watch the series with them. Just because it is not your very first choice of what to watch, does not mean you may not enjoy watching it from time to time. Bonus, you can find out why they love it so much. That may lead to one of those goofy, late night convos when both of you laugh a lot, because you are both so sleepy you stopped making real sense around midnight. Marriages need those, too. Pretty much pulled the whole "if you leave me, I lines K lines myself, and then when I finally left her she did the whole "if I can't have you no one can," and sabotaged my next 2 relationships. We were living together at 16. She cheated on me, and I told her I wanted her to leave. She begged me not to send her back to her mom's house because they have like 8 people in a 2-bedroom house, and because she would have had nowhere else to go. I was 16, I didn't know how to handle a girl literally begging me, so I let her stay against my better judgment, and it created a hurtful cycle of falling in and out of love, feeling like things could get better, and then having my world come crashing down every time I look at her, because I think of reading the message of the guy saying he loved watching her get on top of him. A couple of years go by, and we were not in love, just tolerating each other at this point, and then we got pregnant. Stayed together through the pregnancy, but the stress was too much for both of us and caused fighting, sleeping apart, more cheating. When the baby was born she had finally turned 18, and we moved away. Our relationship got much better with each other. We were best friends now, and are just trying our best to raise our daughter to be healthy and happy, and know she is loved. Neither of us had good childhoods. Sounds like a rough time, but also that it ended as best as it could have. Good on you all for working it out for your girl. We were not necessarily in a relationship, but it acted like one. I have a lot of trust and abandonment issues, mostly caused from my parents' divorce, and I was not very good at communicating. Now he was really extroverted, and felt like if I did not join in talking with his friends I did not want to talk to him at all. But in the moments we would get to talk it was mostly just me asking for reassurance. During the time he was in my life I changed myself to fit his liking, intensified my eating disorder, tried to convince myself that I loved him, and even started self-harming. To be honest, I still do not know his side of anything, and it has been over a year. I vividly remember crying really hard and telling myself that I needed to stay with him. I'm really glad he gave up on me though, lol. God, I completely understand where you are coming from. I was in nearly the exact same situation. By now I'm guessing you are not dependent on him anymore. But do you ever miss that feeling? Sometimes it is hard not to miss the self-destructive tendencies laughing my butt off. I hope you are doing better now, though. I'm no longer with this person, but we had reached a point in our relationship where we were constantly fighting. Sometimes over the littlest things, sometimes over huge deal breaker things. The beginning of the end was when his sister did not invite me to her wedding, and he did not ask her about it. And he told me that no one got a +1 because it was a small wedding. Then I saw the pictures, and everyone was there with a +1. His brother even brought a date no one in the family had met. It went downhill quickly from there, and the last 5-6 months were especially awful. I kept telling myself that relationships take work. There will be disagreements and fights, but couples work through them. I woke up one day and realized that, while that's true in some cases, it is not true for all. We were not married, did not have any kids together, did not have any shared assets, so I was not bound to him in any way, and since I was not emotionally connected to him anymore, it was okay to not be with him anymore. I can still vividly remember having that realization, and how empowered I felt telling him all that, and that we were done. We have good chemistry and build a life together. After a lot of years, love comes and goes. It is like the seasons. As cold as it can be in the winter, if you put the effort in, the spring will always come back. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe for more videos.